back. Welcome to episode 7 of Soap Talks, where we keep it soapy. Today we got a good one. I would even call it incredible. So we're going to go ahead and take it away with Diginite, Paul.
Thanks, Ryan. For today's Diginite, we have a little something new. We will be introducing a little teaser on a new video series we'll be rolling out. So we've decided as a lodge that we're really happy with how this podcast has turned out, and we love coming to everybody weekly and talking about some general stuff, but we're going to be branching off and discussing some new, specific topics that we think pertains to our members. And the one new series we'll be rolling out is the Professional Pericles. And what this is going to be is a new series of videos that kind of explains to our members professional development tips, maybe some workshops down the road, maybe even some networking opportunities, but it'll be an entire virtual series dedicated to professional development and networking for our members. So we're going to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of what that's going to entail by discussing today's topic, and that's going to be how to talk about the Sons of Pericles in a job interview. So I think the number one question we've all gotten, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I get it all the time. People ask me, they say, hey, I'm pretty involved in Sons. I have leadership skills. I have an office. I've done a lot for the organization. How do I translate that into impressing an interviewer or a potential employer? How do I talk about the Sons and make it relatable? And so we're going to go ahead and answer those questions today and talk a little bit about that. And the first thing, so kind of 2 or 3 things that we would kind of highlight, and guys, feel free to jump in where you feel like, we want this to be a little more of a conversation. But the first thing definitely is to use words that are relatable to the employer. So, we in the organization, we use a lot of words that are a little archaic and they have historical value, but they don't translate very well sometimes to modern day or to the professional world. So Supreme Lodge, chapter president, district lodges, fraternal orders, rituals, those kinds of things, they're tough to explain in a meeting. So first things first, we're going to translate a couple of those things to things that'll be beneficial to the employer, right? So instead of being a chapter president, you are the president of the local board. Instead of the Supreme Lodge president, you are the president of the national board or international board. So calling things boards, president, instead of district governor, you are the president of the state board. Instead of calling ourselves a fraternal organization or a fraternal society or the Sons of Pericles or an order, let's call it what it is. We are an international nonprofit that is dedicated to promotion of Hellenic culture, service to our community, and the establishment of professional and social networking. So that's some way you can kind of phrase the Sons and your position in it in a way that's going to make sense to your employer and kind of make them realize how much you really do for the organization.
Yeah, I think that's very good. Put it in layman terms. So, for those of you who may not know, when you go to apply, you put your resume in there. Not everybody had time to go and read through your resume. They're looking at, 300 plus other people that are applying for the same job you are. We believe in you, but we have to make them believe in you. In order to do that, you got to use proper search words. We'll talk about that in another episode. But like Paul was saying, I personally use philanthropy. I found that philanthropy is a good key term. You put it under volunteer experience. They're like, oh, like you were part of a philanthropy. Like you put it, like I put in the word nonprofit in the description and the bullet. But I personally use philanthropy. And I think, excuse me, that another thing is focus and stress that it's an international organization. Whether or not, you guys know about our, chapters in Greece, and maybe some potential ones in other areas of Europe. The fact is we are an international organization because Canada is a separate country. But moreover, people see the words international, nonprofit, philanthropy, board, chair, things of that nature, president, secretary, whatever it might be. These are instant hot words, especially if you're applying for, roles where it requires communication or organizational skills. They see that you've been a part of an organization chain, a hierarchy, and they'll just eat it up, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, that's all great advice and something that we strive to tell all our members. And I think the second thing, so the first thing being, in quick summation, phrase the organization in terms that make sense to the employer. Now, the second thing is going to be describing your tangible duties, right? So what do you do as the president or the vice president or a chapter officer, district officer that kind of translates well to the job you're applying for, right? So secretary, for example, because I think that's the one that's a little more old school in how it's handled. So we have terms like, taking meeting minutes or presiding over meetings or, establishing communications, corresponding secretary, I know is a word that gets used. But really what you're doing a lot of times, especially now, is as the secretary, you are, helping maintain membership with the rest of the organization by keeping track of your roster. You're preserving records for the organization. You are oftentimes managing your social media account. And so all those things, number one, the social media account is going to show creativity to your employer. And the notes and the emails that you're sending, those are fantastic communication skills that are going to help you in any job, no matter what you have. Same thing with president. You can talk a little bit about maybe the charitable events that you've hosted, what the causes are and how that's given you event experience, what causes you've been passionate about. I know employers love to hear the things that you are passionate and motivated about outside of work, what makes you who you are, to see if you're the right fit. So again, number one, we're going to translate our organization into relatable terms. Number two, we're going to describe our tangible duties, which brings us to number three, describing the intangibles. And this is, I think, the most undervalued part of the Sons as an order, and the thing that's hardest to translate as well, is the intangibles that you get by being part of, like Ryan said, an international nonprofit that's dedicated to philanthropy and culture and brotherhood. Leadership. Leadership is, it's a buzzword, but it's true. You, as a chapter officer, especially in a volunteer setting, have dedicated your time to making the world a better place and have inspired and motivated others to do the same thing. That's going to be an invaluable thing to translate into the professional world, because your employers are eventually going to be hiring people that will be team leaders or managers or bosses one day, and they're going to want somebody who can inspire the team to be better and do better. And you've already done that as a member of the Sons. You've inspired people to take their time out of their day to do something well for the community and do good for the community. So that's going to be a big one. Again, communication is going to be a good one, and creativity, right? We're always thinking of new ways to expand, to implement new programs. So your creative thinking and your critical thinking, your problem solving is going to be better for your service on the Sons of Pericles. So that's just a quick kind of summation, a little bit, again, of a teaser of our new Professional Pericles series. But in summary, you're going to describe the organization in relatable terms. You're going to focus on your tangible duties as best as you can, and you're really going to stress those intangibles that you've built by being a member of the Sons of Pericles. So we'll be rolling that out. Again, stay tuned for Professional Pericles, and Ryan, we'll kick it back to you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you very much, Paul. I know that the four of us have all had experiences in which it's been an easy thing to bring up in interviews. I've gotten a call that the first thing they asked me about, they went directly. I actually have this at the bottom in volunteer experiences. That was the first thing they brought up. They were like, hey, we saw this and we wanted to call you because of this Sons of Pericles, or a lot of people call it Pericles or something along those lines. And so, it gets a quick laugh, but it gets us right into something that I'm comfortable with, that we hope that you are too. Thank you, Paul. We appreciate that. Look forward to the Professional Pericles. Next is going to be Tim with Tanea. What's going on in the Greek community, Tim?
So we've got a couple good things coming up. We've got our Greeks in quarantine, like we said last week, is scheduled for June 20th. We're going to be rolling out some fun activities.
Right. I think we're going to try to make this a little bit of a theme night. I know we have a lot of themes floating around there. We're going to have to narrow it down to one. It's been a few, and the ones we don't use, I'm sure we'll use in the next couple months. We'll have some opportunities, I think.
So don't worry, we'll use them all.
So we've got that coming up. We have some shirts that we're working on making for Greeks in quarantine and for, unfortunately, our cancel events that happen. We'll get that design out and visible to everyone, and placing some orders soon. And finally, we are going to be doing something a little different on the podcast here. We're all working on getting some of this ridiculously spicy ramen.
Yes.
Mine's upstairs.
And
Mine's being delivered by Amazon shortly.
We're gonna see how that goes. I know I have tried it once before, but it wasn't with this 2-time spicy one, and it was pretty spicy. So I don't know if you guys have done it at all, but it's definitely hot.
I look forward to it. The bag's red. It's been called nuclear. It says 2-time spicy. It's got an angry chicken with a bomb on the front of it. I'm just excited.
I'm confident in myself. I'm a king of spicy food. I'm not scared.
You heard it here. He's.
I may start liking this food, to be honest.
Yanni will be the first one down.
No ramen is spicy enough for me.
We'll see. Next thing we'll hear from Yanni is going through all 5 packs in here. So
we will have a spread. We might even put a little action in on this. It's man versus food.
Some prop bets.
So if you've ever wanted to see 4 grown men cry, tune in next week.
3 grown men cry and 1 grown man laugh at the rest of the 3 of them. So,
naturally.
From insanity.
I'm calling my own shot. It's okay.
Calm down there.
Speaking of grown men crying,
It's really
Tom Brady, what do we got? What's new, Yanni?
Your last dance. So, if you want to talk so much, please tell us what's going on in the sports world.
I have nothing to say about Tom Brady or the Buccaneers.
Good.
But there's other sports, which is cool. UFC, NASCAR, Bundesliga, Australian rugby, TSN and ESPN actually have some live sports on, and it feels great. Even like the Bundesliga games, pretty cool to watch. You can hear the players again more often than you would in a regular game. So, again, all of it is just becoming the new normal with no fans, which is interesting to see. And then here, NHL 2014 playoffs have been announced, so they kind of extended it. Somehow the Leafs and the Canadiens made the playoffs, so that really shows you that they're including everyone this year. But at least we'll get to see some hockey. I think it's July 31st, same as like the NBA. Correct me if I'm wrong, if anyone's heard differently. With that being said, NBA is set to resume. They're looking at host cities just like the NHL is. Probably Disney World is what they've said for NBA. MLB, we were talking about this earlier. Paul mentioned this. Their biggest thing is the issues with how much they're going to get paid because they don't know how long of a season. And then they're saying that the owners are saying they'll give them 50% of their revenue, but then they won't tell their players how much their revenue is. So the players have no idea how much to expect. None of the teams know how much to expect. Obviously, this is something new for all the leagues dealing with no fans. So I know there has been pay cuts in some of the leagues, and some players are more willing to accept a pay cut than others, but it is something that a lot of leagues will have to figure out in the coming months and probably in the next couple of years because who knows how long it'll last without fans at least. So that's all I have. It's a little bit more exciting. It's good to see live sports on TV other than 97 hockey's reruns or the Patriots winning the Super Bowl 6 times over the last 20 years, It's boring to watch on the TV, but
for sure, they do get boring, yes. Is that Al?
I say that now, and I'm going to go into hiding for all of next season, so it's okay.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you. The world sure is strange, and if we're having a hard time dealing with no sports, imagine what the athletes are going through. So to wrap it up today, we're going to do the final segment, Gyro, as we like to call it. And so this one's going to be a little different. We're going to do a little pregame interview. So I'm going to start off actually with our fearless leader, Paul. Paul, let me ask you, going into this, do you have any experience with spicy foods? Kind of give us a quick little rundown of your experience in life and such.
Yeah, so I'm excited for this spicy ramen challenge. I actually haven't had spicy ramen since the quarantine, but there's a solid spot in Midtown Manhattan where we used to go for Friday lunches, has a fantastic spicy ramen dish. I don't know spice levels how this packaged one is going to compare, but about once a week I'm eating spicy ramen.
Fantastic.
So
do you take a threat to your position when Yanni calls himself the king of spice, or do you just brush it off as it's only a nomenclature?
Well, here's the thing. Presidents are usually elected, which means they're chosen by the people. And so as the president of Spice, I feel like I have the people's opinion in my favor. And that's really what matters to me, is making sure that I'm, representing people accordingly, representing our members accordingly.
Strong words.
So the king can go to his throne, but I'll hold on to my election status.
Amazing. Strong words from our leader. Now let's go to our number 2. Timothy, you probably have the most experience, especially with this particular ramen. Would you say that that's going to give you an advantage in this event?
I think it will. I'm pretty confident that I'll be able to put this all down. I finished the last one, so but I am a little nervous. I have to say I've never seen a chicken carry a bomb before, so.
That is scary, yes. I can only imagine. That's probably because we wring their necks so hard. They're tired of our stuff. But very good. So because you have experience, would you say that you might be able to finish a bowl faster than the rest of us? Or how would you say this is going to – what's your outcome prediction?
I think I will. Pretty confident, like I said, in myself. I was the only one who finished it last time too, so um, we'll see how you guys can handle it, Mr. President and King of Spice over there. I don't
What
know.
last time? When was this last time? This is.
I did it once before with my sister and a couple other friends.
Oh,
So.
you do this for fun. Okay.
Yeah.
Our treasurer Yanni thinks the world doesn't happen unless he is in the room, and so he's a little
wasn't
confused when
there,
he
it didn't
hears a
happen.
challenge that happened when he wasn't there.
There's
It
5
does-
pounds.
It does sound like this so-called King of Spice is now getting worried because if you understand that the other contender has not only known about said ramen, but he has experience with it. And I think that's scaring him a little bit. He's actually stretching in what seems to be a little bit of a panic.
I'm a little stiff,
King of Spice, how do you feel?
but I'm just warming up, you know.
Yeah?
I don't know. You guys probably like, oh, I use Frank's on everything. Like, no, I put that extra hot on everything. Okay, like I bathe in cayenne powder. Butter chicken from the spice. It's literally called Hot Million in town. I'm getting extra spicy. They're like, no, Yanni, don't do it. I'm like, no, we're gonna get some extra spicy. Does it hurt for a couple days? Yeah, but I'll take it. I'll do it every time because I love spicy food. I can't wait to beat all of you.
Now, as a foreigner, why do you choose to call yourself the King of Spice instead of the Prime Minister of Spice? That's just a generic question.
The king is because in Canada the king is higher than the prime minister, right?
So you admit that you worship the Queen in Canada. Do you also admit that you are the lowest ranking member of the Sons of Pericles Supreme Lodge?
I do admit that, yes. Technically speaking.
And we do admit that your golf game is a little weak, just like your taste buds.
Are you talking about
That's
my
all
golf?
for today, folks. Thank you for joining us in this episode. We can't wait to hear from you next week. And
I'm out.
Oh, hold on.
Fantastic week.
Wait. Before we end this off, Ryan, we want to hear what you think. What do you
Oh,
think you're gonna do?
I mean, I think due to cultural inclination, that one would say that I could have an advantage in this competition, if that's what you want to call it. However, I don't do a lot of spice, so I'm going to put myself at number 2. As I've said in the past, I'm not a gambling man, but you take somebody with experience, you're usually going to put them a little higher. I'll take my spot as a safe number 2.
Sounds good. We'll see how it
I
goes.
just hope my taste buds don't get as burned as Yanni did this week. That's all.
Ooh, and with that, kids, we have to tell you, be safe out there, be happy, be healthy, and as always, stay soapy. God bless.